First the meatloaf, then the world. I'm Anthony.
I'm David.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 146 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comics. In this week's episode, we've got weekly reviews, both comics that are new and old, and then we have a letters page in which we're going to go around the internet here and answer this very question. What comic book series would you want to keep going on forever, even though it has already ended or been canceled? So we're going to do that later on in the show, so think of some answers. And that will be our show, but we're going to kick it off here with the weekly reviews, starting off with Jim.
Hey, I've got a free comic book. Really,
Whoa.
It's free.
I'll take it.
Later when I'm done with it.
Okay.
This is the Critical Role Vox Machina Origins free comic book day book from Dark Horse Comics that I finally got this week. And despite the series being called the Vox Machina Origins, this is not an origin story. This is actually very, very, very late in their campaign, and it actually occurs on one of their sequel episodes that was a bonus to their Kickstarter campaign. They did a special episode where two of their characters went away to a tropical island to get married, and then some dramatic things happened to the group while they were on their wedding vacation. And this is actually just a prequel just before that event. So it has nothing to do with the origins of the group. So I'm not going to say any more, just in case there's any fans of the show. But you will want to pick this up because it is just really cool the way they set that up. The wedding episode is set up really well in this one, and it is in such a different way. And the art is what we came to recognize from the second Origins series. We don't see actually very much of the... Oh, we do see one very famous episode from Critical Role, and that is Keyleth jumping off the cliff and transforming into a goldfish. However, this is done from one of the in-story fans of the group, and in this one, instead of turning into a goldfish and going splat, she turns into a killer whale and ends up, according to the legend, destroying an invading army. So yeah, it's just full of a lot of little weird Easter eggs like that. And for anybody who was looking to go into Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology series, there's a little prequel story in the back of this one for that. And while I had not decided to read that one, it does look really cool. It's got some really interesting art. Let's see, let's go right here. About the creation of the realms, Midgard, Asgard, all the various realms. There's different things going on there. And it looks really interesting. So if you're into Norse mythology, if you're into Neil Gaiman, you'll probably want to check this issue out as well too. So.
And just to reiterate for the fans, how much was that comic again?
I paid absolutely nothing for this book.
Wow. You must know somebody. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to jump on over to my first title here, which is Wonder Woman issue number 760. This is the second issue in the new arc with new creative team with Mariko Tamaki and Mikkel Janin and David Marquez. Wonder Woman's quest to bring justice to man's world has seen her take on many devastating opponents, but none so vicious as Maxwell Lord. Max represents the worst that humanity has to offer, so when he shows up at Diana's doorstep seeking help, what's a warrior for the truth to do? All right, since the Wonder Woman 1984 movie is hopefully right around the corner, very coincidentally, Maxwell Lord starts popping up in the Wonder Woman comic here. But yeah, Mariko Tamaki, one of my favorite writers, has taken over on Wonder Woman here, so I was pretty excited for that creative change. We last left the issue of Wonder Woman kind of in a prison. She's fighting a bunch of these prisoners, and there's a bunch of people that are mind controlled, and Maxwell Lord is there to save Diana, and Diana's not too thankful for that because she knows he's got some ulterior motives. He himself is in prison as well. But what we met, a character we met last issue is somebody who is Diana is setting up in a new apartment. She's in Boston right now, and there's this next door neighbor who seems to be kind of on her own. I assume she's a teenager, maybe a late teenager. But we find out more of what her reason is. Basically, Diana has formed a friendship with her as this neighbor is all alone at the moment. But this is a character that I assume is brand new for the story, and it seems like will play maybe some bigger role in either in this arc or maybe establishes a new character in Wonder Woman's friend group here. At this point, a very human character. But Diana is, this young girl is admiring Diana's work ethic and the way she's a superhero, and how basically she never turns it off, because whenever anybody needs help, Diana jumps into the fray, which cuts into our next scene in which there is a construction worker who is mind controlled as well. As you see, he's got some red beady eyes going on there, but he's basically supposed to be taking a wrecking ball to one building, but he's mind controlled to attack and destroy a building that actually has people in. And so that's where Wonder Woman comes in and tries to stop that, as she's there to save the day, hopefully. And the only thing I'll tease about the rest of this issue is that from that moment on, to Diana's thinking, she saved the day. She took some selfies with some people down on the street. And then suddenly she wakes up in her bed, not really remembering, how did I get here? And then a bunch of crazy stuff happens involving, as we see on the front page here, some giant robots. So some really crazy stuff starts happening in the third act of this issue that leads you into what we'll we'll see how it turns out in issue 761. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like Mariko Tamaki. So far, this story is very grounded. But yeah, we'll see where it goes here. And awesome art by Mikkel Janin. And yeah, so I'm excited to see what Maxwell Lord's role in this arc is going to play into, as we will see him soon on the big screen, played by the Mandalorian himself. So yeah, that is Wonder Woman issue number 760. All right, next up is David.
All right. So what I brought to the table, so to speak, is a very classic story. We've got Superman, The Golden Age, Volume 1. So I don't know, for some reason, I felt like reading a little Superman. And I know
character for you.
Yeah, just wanted to dip my toes into something new that's very old. No, I like to go back and explore some of the very early stuff. I know recently I talked about early Spider-Man stuff. It's just fun to go back and look at the differences in how characters were written, how they were drawn, and everything else. Now, this, of course, goes back to the 30s, which first published in 38. But actually, some of these stories go back to 33 because Siegel and Schuster had actually created Superman in 33, wrote some newspaper strips that they didn't sell, and then when they get their foot in the door with DC, they were able to use them. They just had to rearrange them and whatever, which is funny because you actually see in a lot of these stories, the panels themselves are actually numbered. And they were very standard sized panels, and then they're put in order, all numbered in order. So I guess they had to clip them out and then kind of repaste them. So you see a lot of that. One thing that I always find funny whenever I revisit this is just all the changes from issue to issue, and sometimes within one issue, of how Superman was drawn. The art, even though he's drawn and colored and everything by one of his creators, is like, it's like he just couldn't decide how they wanted him to look. He goes from not having any boots to just having boots that are blue, and then finally go red, and then there's an issue where they're yellow for the entire issue, and then from there on they go back to red, and they're pretty consistent. His S shield changes quite a bit. Everything from what we have on the color here to a simple yellow triangle with a red S. There's a little bit more of a shield look shape to it. Sometimes it has a red border, sometimes it doesn't. And these are changes that happen like pretty constantly throughout. Oh, here we got Yellow Boot Superman. So yeah, this whole story, his boots were just yellow.
Those just his rain boots, or?
Yeah, well, I guess those are his circus boots, because this story he joins the circus. So yeah, it must be the yellow circus boots. And Lois Lane has very a Jubilee color scheme going on in this one with her yellow trench coat. But yeah, it just, his look hops around, and often you can't even make out enough details to figure out what's going on his chest. So it's just, that's how it'll be in a lot of these issues. But this is Golden Age artwork, so not a ton of detail to them. A lot of characters. I mean, you still have this problem today in comics. From time to time, you get certain characters or people in the story, and you're like, hey, is that so and so? But it's not. They're drawn alike. In this stuff here, it was very much like, there were, there's like a dozen people, and they just get reused as other people or whatever. Or at least that's how it looks, because so many people look so similar. And of course, with issues that they had in coloring properly, or inconsistencies with the drawing, sometimes you'll have a same character who looks a little different, later on in the story. And it's just through reading it that you realize, no, okay, this is that guy. But again, very kind of dumbed down, I guess, in the writing style, in the art style. But again, it's the Golden Age, and this is the history of comics right here. This is how everything was. So sometimes it can be hard to go back and read some of this stuff. I find it very interesting to go and do, but I can't read this whole book all in one sitting. It's something that I have to go and I'll read a story or two, and I'll come back to it. Just having started reading it like a week ago, I think I'm only half a dozen stories into it, just because it is something that you pick it up, you read a little, you put it away.
Yeah, it'll be the same with the Marvel Masterworks when you're reading like 60s Marvel comics, and you can only take so much until you need to pick up the pace, or it's always you always get the descriptions. Like Stan Lee will write everything that's happening rather than letting the art tell you what's happening. So there's just so much extra reading involved when you can just see it happening.
Yeah, and the beginning of each of these stories too starts with I mean, just like how a lot of comic books now will have that first page where they kind of will tell you what's going on. It doesn't exactly do that, and this is a shorter one, but they'll kind of start out and then give you a little bit of Superman, kind of what his powers are and stuff like that. Now, to just note with the powers, at the point that I'm in the reading, he has no supervision, no hearing is mentioned once, but only that it's a heightened sense of hearing, not that it's really super hearing or anything. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound, but he can't fly. He can jump an eighth of a mile. So most of how he travels around is actually by using telephone wires. He avoids traffic by he'll jump up on the telephone wires and then he runs across them at super speed. So he does have some super speed, although it also doesn't say just how fast he is. Faster than a locomotive, though. So no like I can freeze you by breathing on you, no X-ray vision, no heat vision, none of that stuff. If you do go back to the original story, they actually go into trying to give like scientific explanations for the powers that he does have. So they tried to keep it real and comparing it to insects. So kind of like what you might do if you were creating, say, a Spider-Man.
I do, when you showed that last panel, I happened to notice one of the powers he does seem to have that he has in today's comics is the ability to digitally remove his mustache. So it's good to see that that's a power that has been there since the 30s.
Yeah, except back then it was done through a process called not drawing a mustache.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a little bit different.
Well, for modern times, they have to say digital, so
they weren't really doing it digitally back at that point.
Snyder Cut, HBO Max.
So, other notes to add in here. As far as named supporting characters, you got Lois Lane. That's it. They work for the Daily Star, but the editor, while he is called Chief once or twice, there's no name given to him. There's no Jimmy Olsen, although there is one story at one point that you do have what could have been an early prototype to Jimmy Olsen. Even the bow tie, of course, blonde hair, no freckles, but kind of serves the same purpose, and he's used very briefly, only a panel or two. But my first thought at that point was, hey, this very easily could have been like the prototype to Jimmy Olsen, like somebody that gets developed into that character later. But at this point, yeah, it's Clark Kent, aka Superman, and Lois Lane, and that's it. They do give names to other characters in the story, but none of the staff at the Daily Star, nothing like that. So even his parents, there's no. You assume there's a Mr. and Mrs. Kent, although I think actually, now that I think about it, I don't even think it mentions them. It does mention him being raised in an orphanage. I'm trying to remember if it talks about him being adopted. But even Krypton, I don't believe was named. And it does talk about being a distant planet. It was destroyed by old age. And just says a scientist placed his infant son within a hastily devised spaceship, launching it toward Earth. When it does talk about the planet, it just talks about them all being kind of physically evolved. So all the people on his planet at this point had these abilities. So not just Superman. It wasn't powered from a yellow sun and stuff like that. So the original Superman was very different. There's even a part where he's throwing villains out the window to their death. So
did it happen to have his horse named Crypto?
No, none of that. I think that's more of the Silver Age thing. Yeah. There's no dog, no horse, no cats.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's yeah, and most of the villains at this point now I do know because I have read this before I've got it. This is the first time I bought it and actually owned it, but I have read through this before. I know the Ultra Humanite makes his first appearance somewhere in this volume, and Ultra Humanite is the first recurring villain in comics. Well, probably not in comics as a whole, but being Superman was the start of the superhero comics as we know it. He would have been the first villain of that sort. So he makes appearance later in the volume in later issues, but aside from that, I mean, he's just fighting typical people that you'd see, slumlords, mob type people, just your common villains that you might run into just in everyday life. So that's pretty much what Superman is up against. In fact,
it have until all the super villains just all of a sudden appeared.
Yeah, I also want to mention that Superman actually is a superpowered vigilante in here. He's not. Yeah, he's a hero, and some people are kind of idolizing him. Lois falls madly in love with him by her second meeting, not the first meeting. The first meeting, she's afraid of him. But he actually goes in and he destroys like a whole area of a city, like because he realizes that people are going to crime because of their housing conditions and stuff like that, and where they're coming from. And he sees something about how the government rebuilt a neighborhood because of a hurricane or some natural disaster. So he decides that his fix for it is he kicks all the people out of their homes and he destroys like just city blocks for apartments and stuff like that. Because he knows that the government will come in, they'll build better, more modern day apartments and stuff like that, and all these people will move in. He doesn't seem to take into consideration that it's going to take a long time for these places to be put up, and in the meantime, all these families are homeless. But he does that, and because he does such devastating destruction, he is now a wanted criminal. So they're sending police after him. They're sending the military after him. Basically, Superman in the Golden Age is kind of like a Batman with some superpowers.
Or just the script to the Man of Steel movie, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, not that long ago, I reviewed that Elseworlds book where Superman came to Earth and was raised by the Waynes. And when you think about it like that, it's like that version of Superman isn't that far off. And he's got a few more powers because he had his heat vision and stuff in that story. But, that's kind of what this reminds me of, is just, if Superman hadn't actually been raised by the Kents, and he wants to do good, but he doesn't have the same way of going about it. He doesn't have all the same values and everything as what most versions of Superman would have. So it is a little bit darker. So for anybody who watches movies like Man of Steel and thinks Superman's too dark, and I am one of those people, you could argue that some of that could be taken from his origins in the Golden Age.
Okay, there you have it. All right, we're going to jump over to Kirby's going to be talking about Black Adam. I mean, The Rock.
Yeah, I found some more Chaos comics. We got The Rock.
Ooh, I can smell it.
And I also got the previews exclusive cover.
Ooh.
What has The Rock been cooking?
But you don't have the variant cover where he's wearing a little fanny pack?
No, I don't have
on a napkin.
I don't have no Rock fanny pack pictures. But someone wants The Rock to throw his match. The Rock fights back and gets his loved one's life threatened and his own. He finds out that a female's running a illegal fighting league, and she set up a fight to the finish with the winner last one standing takes all, and she says that The Rock's going to be fighting in it. There we go. There's a little. But they lied, and they just have someone that looks like The Rock, and Rock hears about this promotion that he's supposed to be fighting in, so he goes and hunts these people down and finds out what's going on and finds out all that storyline and everything, what's happening, and it's go brain dead. She finds out that she lied about all that, and then the big guy that's supposed to win the match if The Rock doesn't show up or if he beats The Rock, he attacks The Rock, and he's got a guy, one of his enforcers is called Mr. Fist, and he just goes up to guys and punches his fist right through guys' chest.
Yeah. So The Rock defeats Scissors, but he's later defeated by Paper.
No, he doesn't have to fight.
Oh, he didn't even. Okay.
Didn't need to fight because it wasn't even his real fight to be at, but I don't know because that's issue 1, of course, and it's going to go on further beyond that. And I'm going to have to find those comics somewhere. But speaking about finding comics, I picked this one up in West Allis, Wisconsin at Lost World of Wonder Comics. They have a section where they got long boxes of 50-cent and dollar comics back in the corner. And then they got like a half-off trade paperback section, lots of action figures, Funko Pops and stuff. It's a nice big open store, lots of room. But when you walk in with the COVID stuff, you got to watch out because there's a limit of 10 people. It's like I walked in and they're like, yeah, you're okay. I'm like, yeah, the sign says open, and I walked in the door, and I didn't realize there was a 10-person limit. But yeah, it's a nice little store to go to, and I picked this one up because it's got the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase on the cover, and Virgil, nice little Virgin cover. I'm thinking, cool, I could go for a little $1 Million Man story and see what happens. To my surprise, I open it up, and it's a story about the Wyatts. This apparently is issue number 7 of WWE Wrestling, a Royal Rumble cover, special cover. But the Wyatt gang, Bray Wyatt and them, sit there and come out and they kidnap Dean Ambrose. Well, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan are the ones that kidnap Dean Ambrose. And then Sasha Banks gets picked up by some other characters that are Wyatts. And they're all running around with the pig head masks on and the beards, so you just assume they're all family members. There's lots of them that pop up in here. But then Sasha gets taken back to the Wyatt farmhouse. Dean Ambrose gets tossed in the trunk. Wyatt Country is basically like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, House of a Thousand Corpses style, the whole view that you get from the family get together and stuff. They're like sitting at the dinner table. It's like in a House of a Thousand Corpses. And they want Sasha, the Wyatts want Sasha to join them so they can help take over the female division because they don't have no females in the Wyatt clan. So they want to start getting some Wyatts in there. And of course, this is number 7. And it goes on further and further. And it actually is very interesting and fun, and I am definitely going to check out more of these WWE comics. And these were by Image, I believe.
Boom, maybe?
Or Boom. Yeah, the Nash ones are by Image. Yeah, these ones were Boom.
Yeah, I hear a lot of good stuff about the newer WWE stuff.
And there's a nice little story in the back. Damon's dinner time stories for DDT. It's like, so you got Jake the Snake and Damon, and then he's taking him down a couple, Macho Man and stuff like that. He takes out. Then it shows him in a match up against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And it's like, that was a fun little bonus in the back, and that you got Saban's Go-Go Power Rangers advertisement there. But yeah, those definitely got me wanting more. I did not expect to really want to get into long term with those. And then last one I want to talk about here in this patch is Smiley the Psychotic Button. I found a wrestling special, wacky wrestling special.
I swear, you're the only one who finds these comics.
I looked for the weirdest covers. That's why I bought the $1 Million Man one. It's like I didn't buy it for the magazine. I bought it for the cover.
Well,
But,
if you're looking for some of these, Anthony, I happen to know where you could find some of these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're stored in my garage right now.
yeah. So I told Damon too.
Yeah, I think there's some trading cards too.
Yep. And then Smiley's world is the WWWC's gold jockstrap tournament that they go to is at stake in a nuclear head-busting brawl. Smiley and Lazy B, the little M&M dude with the sideways B on his chest, they go up in the way up in the stands in the balconies, and he pulls out an air horn, and they start just basically bellowing all kinds of things out, harassing all the wrestlers and stuff from the upper stands, and their mouths get them and put into the ring because they're you got Bulk Boa and Silverberg are fighting, and they're harassing them now, which are Hulk Hogan and Goldberg that they're parodying. And so in between the matches, Bulk Boa and Silverberg go up there, grab them, drag them down in, take them down to the lockers, throw them in a room, tell them to get dressed up. You're going to start wrestling. You're going to be part of a special entrance into the match. Then you got other wrestlers like Spring, Perry Pluto, Ray Suspicioso. You got the NWWO, the Ultimate Cheeseburger. This is hilarious. Every Smiley comic thing. This isn't one where Smiley's dreaming. This is actually Smiley there. And it's just, it's hilarious. But if you want something fun to read, you like wrestling, you'll love this comic book. But KS Comics, they're holding true.
All right. Now we're going to go to a galaxy far, far away with Katie.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be your travel ambassador once again. So this week I have another Star Wars epic collection. This one is called The Infinites. It is basically a book of what ifs. So the second half of the book is reprinting the Star Wars, which is the first draft that was submitted for publication of the Star Wars movies. And I'd actually read that a few years ago, so it was good to read it again and pick up some different ideas from it. I enjoyed that. Definitely cool to see how some of those ideas were developed and how they were later used. Interesting to draw parallels to landmark science fiction from the 30s through the 60s that we see there. So that was just cool and good to finally see that story completed, because I have issues 0 through 7 and I don't have issue 8, so it's nice to read that. And then the other half of the book, the beginning, was basically 3 what-if stories for each of the original trilogy. So for Star Wars, it was what if the Empire had won and the Death Star wasn't destroyed? What would happen? And that was actually pretty cool because Leia had a really cool character arc in that. And then the second one for Empire Strikes Back was what if Luke had died in the snowstorm on Hoth from hypothermia? Who would, be the savior then? And it seems like it's going to be Han for a little bit, and then it turns out it's going to be Leia, so that was exciting. And then in Return of the Jedi, it was a what if of kind of like if Yoda had fought Darth Vader on Dagobah. So he thinks Luke's going to come back for training, and Vader shows up instead. So that was pretty interesting, and good to see how it all worked out and how Vader ends up confronting his light side as he does in the original movie. And then also if Leia had gone with Luke to fight Darth Vader on the second Death Star, what would happen with that? So very good. I enjoyed it. These were all just really fun. You know, I liked it. Pretty positive reviews all around. So that's that. Another epic collection. This one, The Infinites.
Excellent. Thank you. We're going to jump right over to Jim for the next one.
Okay, I have a new series called 7 Secrets from Boom Studios. This one's written by Tom Taylor, who is probably most currently well known for writing the DCeased series. He also wrote the Injustice comic series and a bunch of other stuff for DC that I'm familiar with, you know. But this one is, the premise is there are 7 secrets that the world has that have to be kept secret because they have the power to actually completely change everything if they fall into the wrong hands. I mean, and not in a good way. So this group, which is called the Order of the Seven, has to protect these secrets at all costs. Each secret is given a holder and a keeper, and then there's the rest of the organization is there to support these people. And this is full of action. There's drama. You know, here's a good shootout scene where some base is being compromised and the secrets have to be taken away. We see a shootout and people told, get it out of here, go, and all that. And then there's some drama because I think it is number 7 at this time. The secret number 7, their holder and keeper is a man and a woman, and unfortunately they fall in love and become pregnant, which is against all the rules, and they are told that you're going to have to give up your job and the baby's going to have to come and live with the order and be trained in the order, and they are fortunately given another chance, although they do have to give up their son. And then 15 years later, there is another episode where the secret has to be taken away and they are again in danger from attack. And Sigurd, the man who is, I believe, the keeper, not the holder, the keeper, is lost, and his last word is to tell his son that he loves him and that he's got something for him, and there's something hidden that needs to be passed on to the son. Overall, this book, for some reason, reminded me of the movie Wanted, with James McAvoy and Angelina Jolie, where he is trained by an ancient order of assassins, you know, and their methods, you know. So a lot of that has that kind of feel to it, you know. So I'm looking forward to issue number 2 and seeing where this goes. I believe this is going to be an ongoing series. I don't recall off the top of my head, but so I'll give it a couple issues and see where it goes. But so far, it looks pretty good. Very promising.
Cool. All right. My next series here is actually a digital first, and it's hopefully something that will make it to print as well. It is called Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Red. One of the crown jewels of the DC library is the inimitable Batman Black and White, which was the Batman short stories done in black and white colors. But Harley Quinn wanted to get in there too, so she took the black and white and added a splash of red. This is an anthology series, contains 14 tales of Gotham City's craziest clown princess, and they're presented in nothing but black, white, and bold red splashes of red. See Harley and Ivy attempt to break into Superman's Fortress of Solitude. See how Harley's story unfolds in the worlds beyond the DC universe, in the alternate timelines of Batman White Knight, Harleen, Harley Quinn the animated series. See her at her darkest hours and in her happiest moments. There's a bunch of stuff that's going on here, but what attracted me to this series was Chapter 8. I'm going to bring down the brightness here. Chapter 8 is, once again, it's all like an anthology series. Chapter 8 is written by Daniel Kibblesmith, who I know from writing a bunch of funny stuff over at Marvel, and art by Marguerite Savage. This is a tale called The End of the Line. There's a lot of white. Here we go. This story basically finds Harley Quinn. The white's not cooperating with the screen right now. It finds Harley Quinn on a train home to Coney Island. But when the train misses the stop, she wonders what goes on as she kind of falls asleep, wakes up, and it's a whole new world on the subway train. She meets some subway pirates on the train, which I will bring the image of these two subway pirates up there. So Harley faces off against some subway pirates, and throughout this issue, she comes across a bunch of different craziness as she starts fighting these people. She's trying to get to the front of the train to see who is driving this dang thing, and because she needs to get back home to Coney Island. These are 99-cent single chapter purchases through the Comixology app that I have done it. And once again, all anthology. So I just started with chapter 8 because of the creative team, and it was pretty enjoyable. There's a fun scene in here in which Harley gets excited because she finally gets to have what she calls, she's always wanted to try a side scroller. So she has a side scroller. Let me get the image here. She has a side scroller fight scene here as she goes through the train. So yeah, that's a fun little scene. It's done in a Sin City fashion, but with more red and no yellow people. And I wasn't sure if I could say, if that falls under the PG-13 or not. They said it in Batman Returns, I guess. But I just recently watched that.
They said people?
Yep, people. And I think the designs are pretty cool. I haven't looked at any of the other chapters, but this chapter alone sold me that I hope they do a hardcover of Harley Quinn, black, white, and red, because I would definitely buy it, plus to get the remaining chapters as well. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But if you need some short form stories from a Harley Quinn anthology, you can check out that on the Comixology. And I'm not sure if this is edited by one person overall, but I'll just say the editor under this one is Chris Conroy, who I guess may or may not have a relationship to Kevin Conroy. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but it's possible that he maybe just did this chapter, but in case he's the one assembling this whole thing, then figure I would just give that shout out there. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. That's Harley Quinn, black, white, and red as a digital first series. Next up, we're going to jump over to Kirby. Do you have a comic about the Super Shredder, I think, right? Oh, wait, Kevin Nash. I'm sorry.
No, it's Big Sexy. Yeah, Big Sexy Kevin Nash here. Yeah, preview comic first. Has a nice little story done by Kevin Nash.
Oh, he wrote it?
He did basically
an intro.
An intro story. It's basically talking about how he got into this and stuff, and then it's a bunch of sketch work throughout the rest of the book, which is nice. And it was interesting because you find out that Kevin Nash wrote the comics. It's like it just surprised me. I did not expect that, but you can tell when you read them. Lots of sex scenes and stuff like that. But then I get this one and I get all excited because I'm like the split face cover, and I seen the back of the ad first. It's like
you should look at the back of you first
for $100, and the other one $70. So I'm all excited. I'm like, do I have the autograph one? No, of course not.
I'm not the only one that sees that creature in the background, right? Or am I hallucinating?
Something just came into my dungeon dwelling. She was off shopping all day.
I brought you a present.
In the year 2000, Armageddon never came. No final battle at the world's end. No phantom horseman ringing in the apocalypse. The truth was worse than that, for when famine, pestilence, and death arrived at last, they were entirely of human origin. It was the work of the Citadel, a secret cabal led by a man named Cyrus Storm, a man whose vision was exceeded only by his ruthlessness. Storm foresaw the food shortage that an ever-expanding world population would bring, and that was the scenario he planned to avoid with every means at his disposal. Releasing a deadly but selective virus into the environment, Storm and his cabal decided who would live and who would die, controlling the fate of every individual on Earth and ridding the world of any believed to be defective. To maintain the purity of the upper class that found salvation in the Citadel's order, huge domes were constructed around the world's great cities. The affluent lived in the plague-free security of the domes, while the lower class subsisted in the diseased, forgotten wastelands. Those wasteland dwellers who survived the virus soon faced another calamity, starvation. Food had become the most precious commodity on the planet, and it was hoarded for the upper class. Food shipments destined for the doomed cities became targets of the highwaymen and wasteland marauders. But these outlaws rarely stood a chance against truckers trained in military combat. Now life in the wastelands is bad and getting worse. The poor and hungry face a bleak future, a future that would entirely without hope, were it not for one thing, a man, a legend called Nash. Yeah, it's kind of like gives you the Road Warrior style and stuff like that, and it's great artwork. It's a fun story. He did a good job writing it. I was surprised. Yeah, different covers with them on there.
Yeah, I never knew those existed.
It's, of course, they do got to get a little deeper into the storyline. But I had the first couple, but yeah, he's just basically a tough guy going around saving the poor, saving the hungry, the helpless, the homeless, and it's a fun story.
Speaking of fun stories, here's a moment at a convention when myself and Kevin Nash did the Wolfpack Too Sweet symbol, and I got it on camera.
Too sweet!
And then he jackknife powerbombed me. So
Yeah, I didn't think about it. I should have dug out my NWO shirt.
for life. All right, we're gonna jump over to Jim for the next one.
I have two books, and they're not new to this group because Damon has talked about them before. This is Hotell, the series that is spelled that way.
There's a couple letters missing in the sign.
Yeah, I just want to give my take on this. This is such a strange, creepy anthology series, kind of like the Outer Limits kind of thing, where there's a host who invites you in to see this story. The host just happens to be like the clerk of this weird hotel that is not anywhere on a map, and then just the right people or the wrong people just happen to find it at the wrong time, the right time, when it's just appropriate to be a really weird and creepy story. And the stories are just lightly linked from one to the next. Although in issue number 3, that connection seems to be a little bit stronger. Issue number 2 is a young girl who checks into the hotel. Issue number 1 was a young girl who checked into the hotel pregnant and had issues with the relationship. And then I had talked about that a while back. She ran into a young couple or married couple, and This issue focuses on why that couple was there and what happens with them. And it is really kind of sick. There's some good gore. I mean, yeah. There's strange weirdness going on with this odd pond in the back of the property they've come across, in this pond with the weird colors in it. Oop, go the other way. And things are weird in there. Things are not going well for this couple, to be sure. Okay. Issue number 3, same hotel. There is actually somebody finally looking into what's going on with this place. And she has spent a lot of time trying to find it. She's driven up and down Route 66 looking for it. All of a sudden, she finally gets to it. And this gentleman greets her at the door and welcomes her in and asks her, "Why are you really trying to find this place?" She admits that she is a reporter wanting to do a story, but he doesn't believe her. And then upon being pressured, she says, "My sister disappeared in this place a long time ago, or disappeared, and I think it was in this place." So then he finally says, "Okay, I'll let you stay, but I recommend you don't." But she stays anyway. And we go a little deeper into what is behind this hotel. Rather than just the creepy stories happening to people, there's a building up of what is involved in the hotel itself. So there is one issue left in this story. Hopefully we get it, and Damon and I will both be around at the same time, and we can talk about that when it all comes out together. So this has turned out to be a really great, lucky find for us, you know.
And I'm back. It actually said I was muted. Did anybody else get that on their screen?
It did. It says it on mine. I don't know if it shows on everybody's. I can see who else muted and not muted.
We're back. We're back.
I thought, because you've got the name on there that you have, I thought maybe you were doing an impersonation.
Yes.
Not that anybody who's viewing this could see the names that we have on there, but we like to go around and change the names on the bottom of our screen. So
You mean that doesn't come through on the video?
No, it's a shame, because we get some really good side comedy going on there.
It was 100% on purpose, as is this review for Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Return. After winning the Battle of the Bands, Bill and Ted's destiny is now in full swing as the world waits for the Wild Stallions to unite the world with their music. Bill and Ted have to figure out how to live up to such expectations. They've only written one song. Going on an adventure spanning an all-time and all worlds, Bill and Ted will have to find their muse in a young Chuck Denomos, Wild Stallion's biggest critic, and the very same villain who grows up and kills them in their future. So somehow I found myself rewatching Bill and Ted 1 and 2, and I figured, you know what? I have this comic from, I think, 2015, so yeah, I'm going to go reread that comic too. And it was a blast. This takes place 5 seconds right after the second movie. So yeah, you see all of the characters. Honestly, if you love the Bill and Ted movies, I think this comic is a sure thing. This here is written by Brian Lynch, who has written some Angel Under the Fall comics. He has also become very popular in the animation world and has wrote the Minions movie, the Secret Lives of Pets movies, a bunch of stuff like that. But he's an absolute lover of comics as well as Bill and Ted. We've got pencils by Jerry Gaylord, inks by Jerry and Penelope Gaylord, and colors by Whitney Koger. Jim Campbell on letters. So yeah, this takes five seconds right after the Bogus Journey movie, and it finds out that they have this success with that first song, but then they quickly realize that they have to come up with a second song. The whole idea of Bill and Ted is the fact that the Wild Stallions and their music is what's going to unite the world in the future in utopia. And this is putting to jail the villain, the Nomolos. I forget how to pronounce that. He's being jailed, so you see like all of the repercussions after that second movie. But it goes into they go into their apartments. They've got their princess girlfriends. They've got the robots and their children. We got little Bill and little Ted being babysat by the robots that we saw in the second movie. And they decide they have to sit down. They have to figure out how to write this song. And they figured, well, a good way to do that is possibly to go into the future and figure out, what that song is. This is a 6-issue adventure. We see some forward in time, some backwards in time. This does a lot of good fan service with bringing in a lot of the characters from both of the movies' lore. So yes, we get Abraham Lincoln in there. We get Mr. the Kid, if you will, Billy the Kid. And some other cool stuff that happens is we also see the Grim Reaper, Death himself. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here that you would want to see in a comic book sequel to the Bill and Ted movies. Each of the 6 issues does have a backup story done by a different creative team every single issue. And what was kind of funny, and Kirby will appreciate this, in the first issue's backup story was written by Ryan North, who is the writer of The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. And his humor is definitely there, including all of the little dialogue in the margins, not only on the bottom, but now he goes on the side of the pages as well. So there's a lot of goodness that's happening in the backup stories as well. And each backup story for each issue is kind of dealing with a different character. So you see one focusing on the girlfriends, another one focusing, I think, on the robots, I think does one. But there's a lot of good stuff throughout the 6 issues. But the main story of the Triumphant Return goes throughout the entire 6-issue run. Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Return. So after reading the story, I would say that going from live action to reading to comic book medium, it definitely wasn't a real bogus journey. It was definitely, I would call it an excellent adventure. And, I think that just about covers it. And if I had to really face the music on this, I would say that it's an excellent read. So, and the only message I should say, what's that?
Grim Reaper in there?
Grim Reaper is in there. A lot of the excitement came because Bill and Ted 3, Face the Music, is now out. I did purchase it on Vudu, and it is a damn good time. I think if you like those first 2 movies, like this comic as well, it's just good, stupid fun, and they add an emotional touch to the third movie as you see the characters a little older. And I thought all 3 of them, and then 4 including the comic, are pretty great. And the overall message, I would say, from this comic is simply be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
So yeah, that is Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Return. Now, we are going to jump over to Kirby once again for this next batch, next comic that he is going to be talking about, which I am setting up for you right here. And I don't have a reference to if Undertaker played a character in a movie, so you're talking about The Undertaker.
Yeah. We got The Undertaker. We got a good variety of comics of his. We got issue number 0 there with the photo cover. We got the Wizard World 1/2 cover. Then we got the 10-issue run, his first run. Apparently they talk about doing another one after the end of this. But I'll read the synopsis here quick. It has been a strange journey, to be sure. The Undertaker, once he was guardian of Stygian, Hell's prison. Now he uses the squared circle of the WWF ring to do battle with the Dark Souls, the demon foot soldiers who have escaped from Stygian with their own alliances and agendas. All seek control of the 3 books of the dead, unholy books of prophecy and power that have been in existence since time immemorial. The ink's a little pushed together here. The one who possesses all 3 holds the key to unimaginable destructive powers, including control of Stygian. The battle lines are drawn. The Undertaker holds the 3rd volume of the books. The mysterious embalmer holds the 1st volume. Who holds the 2nd? What is Pallbearer's stake in all this? And what are mankind's motives? We, as passive observers, can do nothing but watch as the Undertaker stands at the cusp between his past and his destiny. Remember, in hell, you can trust no one. Listen. But yeah, we got tons of different covers here. That I'll just keep popping up as I talk about it. But the Undertaker enters the wrestling realm where we see regular matches, but in reality, he is fighting beings from Stygian, where Pallbearer transgressed to and hopes to rule. The characters turn into these little demon guys, but when we're watching them on TV, they look like normal people, and they're actually battling hell's demons, and we don't know about it. Kane is afoot, but what are his real intentions? His Hell's Chronicler has lived and died 15,738 times and is tired of it and wants someone to take over Master of Stygian so they can end her misery. Who will it be? Undertaker, Augustus, or Pallbearer, or who? And Augustus is the embalmer. By the way, the Undertaker and Kane story gets deeper. If you know anything about wrestling from the early days, they go deeper into the whole family. Undertaker burning his family and Kane saving them and stuff like that, and Pallbearer and all that. You get to go deeper and deeper into that story, which is nice. It's fun to get into. Then you find out also about Jezebel, which is Kane's half sister. Pallbearer had sex with his mom and he had a sister. I mean, this is family friendly, so I don't want to get too deep on what all happened in the storyline. But you find out about all that. You also get Mankind's in here with Mr. Sacco. They all have interesting storylines and stuff. It's very fun. This did not take long. It was not overworded and stuff. I got all the different little photo covers and the regular covers. It's a constant 10 comic storyline of just constant fighting for these 3 books. And there's tons of minions. You got the Undertaker has all the wrestlers that he's beaten in the past that went underneath his flock. And so you got the Dead Man's Clan. You got Pallbearer's group. Pallbearer can resurrect the dead. So you got zombies and skeletons and demons. Oh my. I mean, it's just all kinds of things you can just imagine. It's just a big old giant battle through all the pages. And then I wanted to show this. I was hoping Eric would be on for it. I think someone's got a lawsuit going here. There's this one giant beast that the embalmer created, and if you can see, he's got an interesting little cod piece there on his pants.
Skull.
Like Punisher skulls. So, but yeah, that was a real fun, and again, absolutely happier than I expected to be after reading all these. I did not expect them to be this fun, but
Did Kevin Nash write those too?
nope, he did not write those. And he did that during his WCW era, by the way.
Okay.
So, but not like it really matters, but yeah, that was. They could have actually condensed it into about 5-6 issues and just went heavier wording and stuff, but it was still fun having it drawn out like that. Gave Mankind lots of time to play in there and talk to Mr. Sacco and stuff. And you can just imagine what he was like in there. So.
Yeah. Sounds like you had a nice day.
I had a great one. Rest in pieces.
All right, we're going to jump over to Jim for the next one.
I've got Justice League number 50. This is a special anniversary issue. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So it's a little bit oversized and it costs a little bit more money. But overall, I think this was a fairly good issue because it was pretty much all contained. I actually ended up missing out on 49 without realizing it. And apparently, I didn't need to see 49 because whatever happened in there is all explained in this one anyway. So, but the Justice League ends up going to another planet. The only reason saying why they might have gone in the first place might not be explained very well. So you might want to pick up 49 for that. While they're there, they basically take over and remove a despot who has been controlling the planet. They try to free the people, but people aren't ready to be self-governed, so they have to kind of rule the planet themselves. And it turns out, while they're great heroes, they're not great rulers. And Wonder Woman kind of has to straighten them out a little bit. In the meantime, there's another planet that tries to attack them, and they all disagree on how things need to be handled. And Wonder Woman says, let the people do it themselves. And Batman says, they're not going to do it. I'm going to take control. And Superman and Green Lantern and Flash are just going to go out and enjoy punching shit up. So, yeah, so like I said, it pretty much all comes in together and all in one big long story. These aliens are kind of interesting because they have a divided culture that does not like to get along with each other. Some of them just go heavy into technology, and some of them are more biologically oriented, and the two divisions do not get along. So it's interesting to see how Wonder Woman as a peacemaker, brings the planet together and helps save the day in the end anyway. So if you're not a regular follower of the Justice League, this one might be something you're picking up. It is a good one-shot story, basically. So.
All right. And actually, you're going to have the last title, too, so if you want to jump into that.
Okay. And this one is another Tom Taylor story. This is DCeased, Dead Planet. This is the third print series, but the fourth series overall in the DCeased line. There is currently a digital-only title being available called Hope's End, I believe. I'm kind of waiting for it to come out in print eventually, so I haven't looked into it yet. But this is the people that survived the original anti-life equation virus that took over the planet. Those heroes that fled to another planet with the surviving humans get the message that Cyborg's back alive. Let's go rescue him. And they do that. They return to Earth. now they finally got to Earth, and this is what happens when what they find. The humans are surviving in a few tiny colonies. Last time I talked about this, we saw John Constantine at the Oblivion Bar getting drunk over his missing friends. Well, his missing friends finally joined him, and they become a new version of the Shadow Pact, which was basically it was the Justice League Dark before the Justice League Dark became the Justice League Dark, where it's all the mystical, magical people who fight the weird stuff that's going on. That's what they are. There's Blue Demon, there's Bobo the Chimp, Detective Chimp. There's a few others that Zatanna, Ragman, they gather together and they go out and they're trying to help the humans as well. There was one of the places where the humans were safe was in Poison Ivy's garden in Gotham City, where she uses her ability to control plants to keep the virus out and the people safe. And we find out there is another place, another garden on the opposite side of the world in Australia. And we find out about this from Anthony's favorite DC character, the Swamp Thing. So,
I almost
if you haven't been buying this book, Anthony, you're going to have to make an order and get it.
I've been seeing him on like some of the variant covers and stuff, and I almost bought him, but I'm just like, that's exactly what they want. So I had it.
No, he is actually in the book.
See, that would tie in. Oh boy. Ooh, nice. See, that would tie in perfectly to what I was going to bring up is anybody reading the heavy death metal, whatever it is?
I have not.
Okay, so I had picked up the first issue because I forget why. It was maybe a variant cover or something. Didn't really care for it too much, and I wasn't going to subscribe to the series. And then that was the worst decision I could make because I started seeing images float around that Wonder Woman was using a Swamp Thing shield. So imagine like the Captain America shield in Infinity War. It was like that, but it was like Swamp Thing as a shield. And then there was another image that Batman was like silver surfing, and he was like all like covered in silver, and he was surfing, and I was just like, man, they're really like, they realized I wasn't like, pre-ordering the books, and they're like, all right, let's get these images in there. And I gotta say, I do kind of want to pick them up when they're accessible. So.
Yep.
But yeah, now I got to buy this book too.
Yeah, there's this is like basically it's an Elseworlds title. It's not in the main continuity. It's all something different, and it's got one of my favorite versions of the characters right on the cover. The Green Canary, Black Canary. In the first series, Black Canary inherits Hal Jordan's ring when he was succumbed to the virus. So now she is also avenging Ollie, who has finally succumbed to, in the last issue. So now she has two friends that she has to fight for. So I really love that concept of Black Canary being the Green Lantern.
I read one of the issues from the first series, the one that had the Wonder Woman zombie cover. But yeah, that book is the series. Yeah, pretty well praised across the board from what I hear. So.
Yes, I really enjoyed it so far.
But I was going to get Dead Planet.
Yeah, and since Swamp Thing doesn't get his own book, as often, what they should do is every year print a hardcover that includes all of his panels from all of Justice League Dark and these books and anywhere he appears, and just put it as here's Swamp Thing 2020 and Swamp Thing 2021, and then I can catch up with what's happened with Swampy without reading all these other books I'm not familiar with. Can you tell someone at DC that for me, Jim?
You're cutting in and out on my side, so.
Oh, I was doing my Wayne's World impression, going through the drive-thru. So, anyways, that will do it for the weekly reviews. But we have one more segment, so stick around for the letters page. All right, audio stopped, audio saved, and audio record.
What was the letter again? I forgot to look at it.
I will be saying it right off the bat, and I'll kick it off, so you'll be last in the lineup here. Okay.
Oh, I remember.
I'll change it quick. Okay, here we go. Welcome to the letters page, everybody. This week's question is this. What comic book series would you want to keep going on forever, even though it has ended or have been canceled? So, for an example, it could be something like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four that went on for, 101 issues or something? Like, if that just kept going, that would be something that it would be a pretty cool thing to see because they created so much of the Marvel Universe. A lot of the sub-characters spun out of the FF book. So if they kept going, then we would probably just get more hits after hits. So that's an example going forward. That's just a way to say one of my backup answers without actually saying what I really want. So I thought about this long and hard. I thought it'd be great to have the Silver Surfer and Dawn Greenwood series continue. But they did tell their full circle story. So I feel pretty satisfied with that. I talked about it last week with the Giant Days series. This was something that wrapped up with, I think, 58 total issues, including the specials and all of the one-shots and things like that. And that's something that I would 100% read till the end of time. You know, it's basically a sitcom following these three girls at university who got signed up to room together, and very funny, you know, just all kind of a coming of age drama type of deal. But that's one of those kind of books that I don't think would really get stale. Like it, you know, you can maybe read some superhero titles and just get to a certain point where it's just like, all right, you know, they're just reinventing this or doing this again. But when you got something of a sitcom format, it just seems like you can always pull out of, you know, these short little everyday stories to revolve around these characters. And since it only went 58 issues, which is a pretty good run in itself, that's something that I would just buy until, you know, till the end of time. And I select that answer as well to be able to show off my fan art that I did this week. So I wanted to draw Daisy, Esther, and Susan from the series. So I did that here, just trying to get it so it shows up better. Hold on here. But yeah, the I'm having a lot of glare issues. So one more time with brightness really low. There we go. All right, so yeah, Daisy, Esther, and Susan, they're done in the fan art after reading and talking about the quotable Giant Days last week. And then they had a huge digital sale on the Comixology, coincidentally, for the whole series. It was like $100 savings. And so I went and scooped them up on digital just because I will buy it in every format. So Giant Days is the answer for a series I would want to continue forever. Damon, who is not here, he will say, Howard the Duck.
I thought it was going to be Buffy.
Yeah, I was thinking Buffy, but yeah.
The all Sarah Michelle Gellar.
But that might have been like TV shows that he wanted to just go on forever.
That's true, yeah.
I think he preferred
Archie, that's what he was going to say.
Archie meets Buffy. He'd want that all day long, so. With special guest character, of course, is the Funko Pop He-Man. So he loved that guy. So
yep, he would buy that forever.
All right, David, do you have an answer for us?
Yeah, a comic book that I would buy if it just went on, if it wouldn't have ended, and whatever, went on and on and on. One that, yeah, I think that should just go on forever. I would say Uncanny X-Men. Yeah, not with all this Hickman stuff that they're doing now, but just the original Uncanny X-Men title. X-Men, standing for how they've always been, the characters that we've always been. I'm sure do new stories with them, do new things with them, but don't change the core of the characters and their beliefs and what they stand for and everything else. Yeah, if I had the Uncanny X-Men back, it hadn't ended and kept going like that. Yeah, I would buy that.
Cool. Kirby?
I didn't take the question. I didn't know it was take it like it was something that was ended already or whatever. So because I was thinking like Deadpool, Gwenpool, those I could read those forever. And then I was thinking like Sharky the Bounty Hunter. But if I wanted to go with something that has ended and they just did a little run with it and stuff, it would be Big Trouble in Little China. I could just see an ongoing thing about Jack Burton. I'd like to go back to his younger days and find out more about him and stuff. So that one I could read forever.
Cool. Katie?
I am going to go with Abnett and Lanning's Guardians of the Galaxy run. I really liked that a lot. Out of the ones I've read, I think that one is the best. Not that, they haven't all been a lot of fun. They have. And it gave us the movies, and I just really enjoy it. And that take on the Marvel Cosmic Universe, and obviously it spilled out into the Annihilation event, which was pretty important. But I'm going with Abnett and Lanning's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Solid choice. Jim?
I'm going with the series that kind of broke me off of the DC only, superhero only, and that would be Fables. Fables did end after 150 issues. They actually wrapped it up pretty well. However, there are several ways that they could keep doing more stories. You could always go back and fit other stories in before it ended. There's tons of ways to do that. You could write what happened after the Fables returned to their homelands, what happened, how they recovered their homelands, that kind of thing. Or what I'd like to see the most, there was a spin-off series called Fairest, which were separate stories based on some of the female characters from Fables, where they were out having their own adventures, and especially Cinderella was kind of like the super spy, and she had some of the best stories. In fact, she had a couple of short miniseries of her own based on that. So I think overall, Fables, aka Fairest, I could read that forever.
Cool. All right. So originally when we started the show, we did say that we were going to have the weekly reviews, which we did, and we were going to have a letters page, which we did. But I just put in an earbud, and I just got breaking news. Hold on. Yep, we got some breaking news. Let's cut to the news segment. All right, saved. Okay, here we go. Welcome to the news section, everybody. David.
All right. I've got some somewhat time-sensitive news, which means that I'm going to have to get all caught up on posting videos. I was doing pretty good getting caught up, and then I had some things happen, and so I haven't gotten any of these videos up in the last week or two. I do need to get these up on time so that people who aren't listening can still be aware of the last ever Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles sale. This will be our absolute final sale. And we will have to throw up a secondary date just in case of weather, because it's going to be another outdoor one. But I will announce for all those listening, and hopefully for those who are watching, that on the weekend of, and I just want to double check my dates here real quick. So it looks like it is going to be September 19th and 20th. So it will be your last chance to come on over and buy up comics, collectibles, whatever we have. We will be doing our lowest prices ever. So
Would you like me to print some signs up for what the prices are and the sales? So have them on the tables.
we're going to do something a little different this time. Kirby, I'm actually going to have to talk to you beforehand. That's why I'm not going into what those are. I can say some things will be as low as 75% off. But this is it. This is the grand finale. So we'll have as much stuff out as we can. We'll have some specific deals. I think we're looking at doing possibly some club-specific deals for our club members. So there we go. September 9th.
Sorry,
20th. That's it. The last final sale. We're done. Of course, we will have a few things coming in, as I mentioned prior to the club starting up. I know that we've got some last little bits and things coming from Diamond. I know as late as September 30th before we can say that we are absolutely finished. But as far as sales, where public can come in, buy stuff up, the 19th and 20th of September. So mark your calendars, save all your pennies, and be prepared to come buy lots of stuff from us, because we need to just blow out as much stuff as we can. We've got way too much stuff. And yeah.
All right. There.
Okay. Well, thank you there for that breaking news segment. That will
Is the Silver Surfer going up?
I might just not for sale, if that's what you're asking.
It's going to be a contest between all of us.
But I might actually have to put the Surfer out for display just this one last time, to just get them out there. And I can't have rummage sale signs out where we normally put them and whatever. But I don't know. Maybe I can. And
If we put a couple little tires
out there, somebody might come in a truck and load them up and haul them away. So, but
we could throw some skateboard tires on it, a little chainsaw motor on it, and go cruising down the road.
Anthony could ride it.
Just like Teen Wolf.
Anthony, your face shrunk. He got a Silver Surfer vest today.
Oh.
All right.
But yeah, that's the big news. And so it's your last chance to come on down and buy something September 19th and 20th. Again, we probably will have a backup date just in case of bad weather or something, which will push it into probably early October. But as it sits right now, that's it.
Yeah, since it just dropped from 90 to 70, and in 2 weeks we might have snow.
Well, you never. Maybe I'll have to put the feelers out and borrow some more canopies and get some stuff like that. And just doesn't matter what it's doing. Come on in and buy stuff.
All right, that will do it for this issue. In the upcoming weeks, we will tackle some club picks. We've got the finale to Wonder Woman Dead Earth, issue number 4. So we're waiting until everybody has a chance to read that is reading it. We'll have some more Batman adventures. And coming up next month, which is only a couple days away till it's September, we're going to have X-Ray Robot issue number 2 at the end of September. So we have some club picks that are coming down the pike. But that'll do it for this issue. This entire time, I've been grounded forever in the negative zone.
I've been very slowly going out of business.
It doesn't matter who I am.
I will take the ring to Mordor.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday sale.
Wakanda forever.
Yeah.